episode 3 of House of the Dragon. So I'm first going to do an episode recap, and then I will get into the discussion thread. So with that, sit back, relax, and let's get started. Like it or not, House of the Dragon episode 3 begins with a time jump. Over 2 years have passed since the events of the second episode, apparently. The new queen, Alicent Hightower, has finally given King Viserys a male heir named Aegon. We're at the young prince's second birthday, where everyone is eager to celebrate. You know who else has something to celebrate? HBO. If a raven hasn't delivered the message to you yet, House of the Dragon doubled its massive viewership numbers last Sunday from roughly 10 million viewers to over 25 million. So yes, there are quite a few people at House of the Dragon's weekly party nowadays. And much like Rhaenyra, everyone at home was shocked when her father chose Alicent to be his new wife in the last episode. House of the Dragon may not have all the dragons it promised us just yet, but it certainly has drama. The young princess seems to be the only one who thinks that this new family dynamic is awkward. Outside of Craghas the Crab Feeder, the man who has crabs eat people alive on the beaches of the Stepstones, the realm is now a relatively safe place. Daemon and Corlys are dealing with the Crabman, so the Targaryen family is spending the day on a hunting trip for the baby prince's birthday. At the hunting grounds, we're introduced to a pair of twin brothers, Lord Jason and Tywin Lannister, both played by actor Jefferson Hall. Tywin is a political strategist in the king's court, while Jason is the lord of a castle in the west called Casterly Rock. Naturally, Game of Thrones viewers should be distrustful of House Lannister, so it comes as no surprise when Jason mentions that he would like Rhaenyra to be his lady wife the first time he ever talks to her. The young princess storms off on horseback and is swiftly followed by Sir Criston Cole of the King's Guard. Was I named heir to the Iron Throne so that I might only further raise the stand of a lord of Casterly Rock? Rhaenyra asks the knight, tearing up. Sir Criston jokes that he could kill Lord Jason if she desired. Meanwhile, the Hand of the King, Otto Hightower, is really trying to name his new baby grandson Aegon as the heir over Rhaenyra. Viserys, however, is hearing none of it. In fact, all this schmoozing and buttering him up is getting annoying. The king is in a drunken, no more fake friends tantrum. All he has around him are snakes and leeches. In his inebriated state, Viserys rambles about how he's worried that he may have failed Rhaenyra as a father. Marrying your daughter's best friend was probably not a good start toward rebuilding a connection after her mother's death. Trying to console the king, Lord Strong reminds him that the previous King Jaehaerys was driven to the edge of madness by his daughters as well. To make matters even worse, the king's master of laws suggests that Rhaenyra should marry Laenor Velaryon, Corlys's son. If you remember from the last episode, the sea snake's 12-year-old daughter Laena was previously offered to King Viserys, but he turned her down for Alicent. Lord Strong points out, however, that Laenor is fighting in the battle against the Crabbeater, and he may perish if the threat is not squashed. With this little anecdote, his true agenda for the match is revealed. Viserys is disgusted by all of the politicking. Back to the hunt, which everyone is clearly jazzed about. King Viserys is a big old softy, so he doesn't want to kill a stag. After the group captures one, Viserys succumbs to peer pressure and kills the animal via 2 stabs from his fancy new Lannister lance. After viciously stabbing a wild boar that attacks them at night, Princess Rhaenyra and Sir Criston Cole return to camp. King Viserys tells Rhaenyra that she should just find someone who appeases her to marry, just as he did. It's apparently her duty to have children to keep the Targaryen line going and solidify her claim to the Iron Throne. The largest threat to that claim, Uncle Daemon, is still fighting against the Crabbeater and the Myrish pirates. House Velaryon's army looks worn out and broken, and the family is bickering around the war table. We're introduced to 2 new characters: Corlys's younger brother, Sir Vaemond, and Corlys's aforementioned son, Laenor. House Velaryon has the largest navy in all of Westeros at its disposal, but the Crabbeater and his archers are hiding in caves. Sir Vaemond doesn't believe in Daemon and his dragon to get the job done, but Laenor plots to use Daemon as bait to draw the Crabbeater's men out. King Viserys sends a letter promising them 10 ships full of 200 men in total, which feels like a lot, but Daemon laughs off his older brother's idea as mere child's play. Faking a surrender, the prince marches out to the middle of the battlefield and slays nearly 20 of the Crabbeater's men on his own before he's clipped by flying arrows. The grayscale-ridden Crabbeater spends this entire time looking up in the sky, wondering when Daemon's dragon is going to show up. Wouldn't you know it, Caraxes appears just in time. Laenor also arrives on the back of a white dragon, burning a whole host of the enemy's army alive. Daemon then cuts the Crabbeater in half and drags his lifeless body back on the battlefield. House Velaryon really owes Daemon now. So that was it for the episode recap. So now we'll get into the discussion thread. Viserys was stellar, getting drunk and pissy with the Lannister, fretting with Alicent, then some rare decisiveness, telling Rhaenyra she remains heir. This episode was clearly George R.R. Martin doing his medieval times LARPing experience. I remember an interview where he was extremely upset at the hunting scene in Season 1 Game of Thrones. It looks like it's just 4 guys walking around in the woods, That's not what happened back then, he said. Love how they are really showing Viserys trying to please everyone, including himself, is the cause of all conflict. When he said that he feels like pleasing one person always means angering someone else, I thought to myself, that's what ruling is. Part of being a leader is making those decisions because literally nobody else can. That's why Jaehaerys was such a good king, but a crappy dad and husband. He was willing to make decisive decisions even if it put him at odds with others, which is great when you're head of state, but not so much when you're trying to build and maintain familial relationships with people you want to like you and stick around. It seems like Lyonel Strong is one of the few people actually giving Viserys good advice. I love how Viserys was so physically and mentally tired of politicking and how he expected Lyonel to offer his son as a marriage. Instead, he gives him more good advice like he did in the last episode. So the actual White Stag shows for Rhaenyra and not her father. Show isn't trying to drive us to any conclusions about that at all. My thought was Rhaenyra had the chance to have Cole kill a white-haired male for her and didn't take her chance, but that's some dark symbolism. I actually really felt for Viserys at the first half of the hunt scenes. Hard to make us feel sympathetic towards his character, but his great acting and a good script is making this show wonderful. I found it pleasant how a majority of the episode took place in the Kingswood. It was a nice way to scale things back while also introducing some of the other nobles. Sea Smoke's introduction will probably come as a surprise for non-readers. I can't really decide if the reveal would work better with or without some kind of pre-battle tease establishing scene. Loved this episode. Rhaenyra, Viserys, Otto, Alicent, the new Lannisters, and Lyonel Strong were all really fun to watch. Thought the battle scene was a little wonky, but happy to see Caraxes burn things. Enjoyed seeing Sea Smoke and Laenor. The vehement conflict brewing within the House Valyrian is an interesting development. Didn't like Crabfeeder dying off screen. I also liked how Daemon reacted to Viserys offering aid. Adds more dimension to his character. The speech Viserys gave to Alicent in front of the fire was amazing. Especially that line about him causing his wife's death. Paddy's acting in that scene was great, and I really appreciate that the shadow of the Queen still hangs over the show. The production effort that goes into this show is just staggering. There are other mega projects that may have even more effort put into post-production, like Marvel projects and maybe The Crown and Stranger Things, but extrapolating from the first 3 episodes, I'm skeptical that any single movie or TV season has put as much work into filming as season 1 of this show. I don't know how Jason Lannister didn't respond to Viserys' query about whether he had dragons by noting that he had plenty of golden ones. We get our first dragon war scene within the Stepstones. We are introduced to the Lannisters of this era, the identical twins Tyland and Jason Lannister. Jason is the older twin and Lord of Casterly Rock, while Tyland is the master of ships now that Corlys has left the council. Jefferson Hall, who plays both Lannister twins, played Sir Hugh of the Vale in the original Game of Thrones, Jon Arryn's squire, who was killed by the Mountain in a joust. We meet Lord Strong's two sons, Clubfoot Larys and Breakbones Harwin. White Hart, hart being a term for a mature stag, was an important symbol in Arthurian mythology and was seen as a sign of the beginning of a quest. In the first season of Game of Thrones, Robert Baratheon goes hunting for a white hart on the hunting trip that kills him. Viserys is standing by his daughter as heir, both a good and stupid move. Lord Strong proves again to be a good advisor, not seeking to advance his house, but giving good advice to the king to resolve the issue with Daemon, the Sea Snake, and Rhaenyra, all in one. As we see, boars are no joke. We meet the Sea Snake's brother, Vaemond Valerian. Daemon would rather a near-suicide charge than accept his brother's help. I find it interesting how beloved Daemon is as a character. I love him too, and the creators also want us to love him. But he also reminds me of Season 1 Jaime Lannister. Daemon would totally push a kid out of a window and order Ned Stark's men slaughtered. I suppose Daemon goes after strangers and people like Otto Hightower, so it's more funny than offensive to us. And his absolute desperation for his brother's attention is sad and often extreme to the point of being hilarious. Dialogue remains quite strong. All of Viserys' lines are just wonderfully written. I'm glad George finally got his royal hunt. There is a lot of good gardening all throughout the episode. Lannister being spurned by Rhaenyra, leading to his support of the Greens. Larys hanging out with the ladies to play up his harmlessness. Breakbones giving Rhaenyra the look. I feel like the other dragon riders needed to be set up a little more. I get why people are upset about certain aspects of the Stepstones in terms of strategy and logistics not making sense, but ultimately it's a very minor conflict in the grand scheme of the story, and it's pretty much entirely a vehicle for Daemon's character development. Okay, so I think I am going to end there. What are your thoughts on the episode? I hope you enjoyed the video. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day and a wonderful night, and I'll see you next time.